Okay, welcome back. So today we're gonna talk about communication protocols in general and OSC in particular. What's communication protocols? You can go Google it and you will find a lot of definition. But we need the one that related to our field. So you can go here, Google, and see what does we have. So communication protocols, it's used for communication, basically to connect to program, let them talk with each other, send information from one program to another program, from one machine to another machine. So it could be different layers. So communication protocol could be between machines and between programs. And also it could be program device. Machine, program program device. But in general, it's always program, right? Because machine is just like more abstract level. At the end, machine does not send information to another machine by itself. Some program on one machine send information to another program on another machine. So even when we're talking about the communication with sensors, it's still some small program on the sensor communicate with our program, Arduino, Touch Designer, processing, whatever. So when you will go a little bit deeper, and for your future project, usually you will see that now building in installation, it's like playing Lego at the end. So you have different blocks. Each block it's like some program, some device, some sensor, some library, and you need to connect them all together. How to do it? That's what we gonna talk today. So as we get communication protocols, it's used to send information, data between different programs. Right. So it could be many levels. Before I usually explain all these levels, but I don't think it's really important now. If you want, you can dig deeper. How communication happened. So the most popular communication protocols that use serial, MIDI, OSC, and UDP. So serial, you already know, we use it to connect Arduino, yes, to computer, and connect Arduino to processing. We did it last semester. So serial. So a serial communication is the process of sending data one bit at a time, sequentially over a communication channel or computer bus. So you can see here, if you go to Wikipedia, you can go like quite deep. What is communication channel? what type of the channels exist, how they work, what's communication. Yeah. So if you go deeper, it could be different ways of serial communication also, but we're not really interested in it. For now, we're not gonna go so deep to the serial communication. Second one is MIDI, another very popular. Usually it's used for devices. So MIDI is musical instrument digital interface. So mostly it's used for sound device, but recently a lot of other devices use it, especially some controllers. So you can see a lot like this, actually to play music, but you can see a lot of like this that use now a lot for like this to control whatever you want, to control visuals, to control light, to control like anything. It's controller, right? So and this one use MIDI protocol. Processing support MIDI protocol. It's not so complex, so you can dig a little bit more of it if it's interesting, but we not go deep in the MIDI. So originally MIDI was made for the sound, yeah, because MIDI signal it's pretty much the notes it's sent. So another one, what we're talking is OSC, Open Sound Control. That's what we're gonna talk today a little bit more, because I would say is one of the most popular now to do the communication between programs on one machine, but at the same you can do communication between multiple machines, because it can work through the network also, pretty much it's work through the network. So it's one of the most popular now to send some data from one program to another. It has some good side and bad side. So bad side, for example, it's protocol without verification. So you have no idea when and does the receiver receive your signal. So when you send the message from one program to another, you have no idea if it's received the signal or not. But this is allow you much more faster communication. I will show quickly like in Touch Designer now. So I can just do like this, OSC out, and here I can do OSC in. And you see now what all I do here is directly change on another program. Now they work on the same machine, so basically all I need to set up the network port should be the same for sender and for receiver. So you see it can have like different protocol. So it's use UDP again. You have UDP here is just like another level of abstraction of UDP. And you also can define the IP address you want to send, right? So by default it's localhost in the same machine, but if you want to send to another machine, you need to write the IP address of another machine here. The same here for receiver. You need to define the port and you need to find the address you're listening for. For example, you see on current machine, I have 4 different IP addresses for different networks, Wi-Fi and local networks. So if I change it, it does not receive because this is listed now for another address. If I say okay, localhost, list on myself, it works. But again, if I disable here, whatever I do here, I have no idea from this program if this program receives signal or not, right? So this is one of the bad side of OSC, but without verification, we have much greater speed because we don't need to wait machine to reply us if it's received signal or not. In TCP/IP on some protocols, they do have verification that if you need like really be sure that machine received data and did not lost anything. That's important for our case. Why OSC? Because usually even when you do some like iterative installation or you send information from your server, it's not really matter for you if you lost some samples of data, because you can define, you can define, so your machine will send data like each frame, for example, in processing to another program. So if your program work like 60 frames per second, so you send 60 samples per second. If one of these samples was lost, you not really will see the big difference on the receiver, because when you control sound or when you control, I don't know, some animation or movement, is just very small period of time, so you will not see the difference. Because samples usually not gonna be like also too random, right? And here it's a lot of different ways you can filter the signal, make it more clear, and so on and so on. But this is we're gonna talk next year about more complex stuff. So how does the OSC work? Let's try it in processing. Okay, I will close this one. I will still leave this one in Touch Designer, and I will put one OSC in. Here, so we will be able to work with it. I will open processing. Okay, not here. Okay, checks big enough, and as always, what we can go to examples, basic, not basic, demos, contributed libraries. Okay, we have serial here, sound today. Okay, import library, add library. Okay, this one, OSC P5 open source control implementation for processing. We install it. Okay, let's install it. I go to examples. Let's restart it. and we have OSC 5. So we will go to the send receive program, and let's see what we have here. Okay, description, show how to send and receive OSC message. So to work with OSC, we need to import these two libraries, OSC P5 and net P5. So as we can understand, OSC P5 about communication, about OSC protocol, net P5 with the like network protocol. So we create two objects, OSC P5, that OSC, and net address, my remote location. Okay, good. So we set up our program, size of resolution, and our frame rate. I will talk a little bit later about frame rate and why it can be imported with communication. And so what we do here, we need to, here we define this object, here we create OSC project. So we creating OSC P5 object that's gonna be listening for messages on the port 12,000. So you see here we have port 10,000. Okay, what we can see from this, so as we already talked, OSC gonna be need have some local address, IP address, yeah. To know address of the machine where it should be listed. Second one, we already know we always need to define the network port. The port we're gonna listen to also. Okay, here is 12,000. And here you see my remote location is a net address. Net address take two parameters, IP address and port. That's so much is used as parameter in OSC P5 send. So this one we will use to send data to another computer. So here you see we listen and sending to the same port. So basically this program gonna communicate with itself. What I gonna do, I gonna tell, okay, we're gonna listen on the port 10,000, but we're gonna send to the port 12,000. 127.0.0.1, if you don't know, it is current machine. So even if you have no internet or nothing, this is a local host, as it's called. So this is means, okay, I listening on this machine or I sending to this machine by itself. So it does not go out to the network. So here we have empty, so by default it's also localhost, or we can write localhost here, the same. Okay, now we have draw function, background black, and we have when mouse pressed, we create new message. What does this? This is name or address of the message. So here you can see this is like address scope. And you know, see, it's usually always starts from this, from the slash. To the message, we add the value, name, and value. So address and value. And after we sending our message, we are sending object my message to my remote location, that is localhost and port 12,000. So any program on port 12,000 will be receive this is message. So when we press mouse, we send this message, and we have another event, OSC event, that it's have received message. So when we receive any message, we will print that we receive message. We will print the address where this message was sent, and we will print the type of this message. Let's start this program. Okay, you see it's still okay. It's listening on the port 12,000. Here I have nothing. OSC out, we need to send to port 12,000. And if I press here, actually I should receive here information. OSC in, does not see. Let's print something here. I sending to 12,000, but I listing 10,000. So it's opposite. So I sent to 10,000, but I listing 12,000. Okay, now you see, when I press here, I get this message. Let's make a little bit more different. Let's set up random from, let's say, 1000. Let's start it. So you see, every time I press here, I send the message from my processing program to Touch Designer. So I send some random number from 0 to 1000. And here you see we always receive message. Why? Because Touch Designer also sending message 60 frames per second. So for this I can disable just this part. So it will stop send message every frame. So it's sent. So now it will send message as when value is changed. So okay, I received some message. So, and you see the pattern, the address y, and type tag ff. So ff it's mean float. This part I'm not do not remember. Okay, so we see the address. Okay, now we just can go processing, OSC, receive. I do not remember the function that will give me, okay, I think a result. Okay, my message add some text. Now this one, I think parsing we need. Yeah, so this is okay how we use it. So we need to check the tag of the message. So now, after you have this, what we can do. So now we see with the address it sent us here /y. So it's y, basically it's /y, and /x also. And we know the type tag of this message here. So now what I can write, if OSC message address pattern equals /x, and type tag should be ff, so we can use the same code here. If check type tag, they have function check address pattern also, and actually I don't think I need true here. So here y, here ff, it's float. I can write float value gonna be, so we can get the float value. The OSC message get 0 int value. The OSC message get 0, and here gonna be float value. And println y equals value. Okay, we save, we start it. Let's try. F. You see sometimes it's F or FF type tag. I think I not really need to check it because I know what I sent here. I know that I sent float, so we just start, run. So we see when I move, the value of y change. It's need a little bit time, looks like a little bit delay here. So what I can do now in my program, I just can create two int x equals 0, int y equals 0, and in my draw function ellipse, I can draw ellipse x y 20 20. and fill to 55 white. Yeah. So what I can do here now, now I can see again here. So in Type Designer, my value from 0 to 1. Yeah, ascending. So again, it's not about Type Designer, it's about, you know, that the value you will receive is gonna be from 0 to 1. So if with y, what I can do, y equals int value gonna be from 0 to 1, and we will map it from 0 to height of our screen. I need map function here. So now I map value from 0 to 1 to value to my screen size. Yeah. Okay, and I'm gonna print it, and this one I already don't need to print really. I will just comment them in case I will need in future to check the pattern of another one. I'm stop start, and now you see, okay, also it's upside down, so here I need to write basically from 1 to 0. And I just can copy it, elif, else if, and I check the pattern again, but pattern gonna be x. I can do the same just for x, but x I think it should be from 0 to 1. So we start, and actually now I can control my processing script from Touch Designer. All right, you see it's a little bit glitchy. All right. Okay, so this is pretty much basic site, and when I press here, I send some random number here. Let me create something more in my draw. I will draw another ellipse in the center of screen. With size 100, 100. Okay, and what I want to do, if this ball inside of this ball, I will send some message back here. So I will create a function, check position, and I need to create it void check position, right? So I can write float distance gonna be width divided by 2 minus x, and this should be pole plus the same but height minus y, and sq QRT. So this is just formula to find the distance between two objects. Again, if we use here vectors, it's gonna be easier to do. And after I can write if distance less than 100, that's the radius of our ball. I will send the message. So I will create the message in. I will call it inside. And then name gonna be inside. One. Send inside. Else. Actually, what I can do here, this one I can just go out, and this I can go out because I will send it in anyway. It just depends what value I gonna send. Okay, now it's not inside, it's 0. Okay, this is radius, so here I need to divide it by 2. And let's just create int center radius. Just replace it so I can adjust it after. So now from other program I can control the ball and I can send back if it's inside or not. Okay, this one, yeah. Okay, I can clean it here. Inside, no. Inside, no. So not bad, yeah. So now we have two-way communication. I have this ball, I can control from here. And I have feedback back. For example, what I can do here again, I can create just simple color. I know you like start to learn Touch Designer, but actually that's not the point of Touch Designer here. The point just to defined show you how you can receive the data in processing, because that's what we're gonna do next classes. We're gonna use another software for machine learning, for like simple artificial intelligence, where you can train your machine to recognize face, to recognize some movement, some colors or some images, and you will need to send data back to processing from this program with OSC. So in here now, okay, I can again maybe change color, and this color I want to use for our program. So I can just create another int R, int G, int B. Okay, let's start with white one. RGB, and here I can write, okay, if it is R, if this G, if this B, I can map air from 0 to 1 to 0 to 255. Okay, not this one. Okay, air G B 255, 255, 255. And when I will fill this one, I can write air GB. I started, and now you see, okay, I can control, but I also can change color now of the ball. So this is pretty much most of the practical part. Let's back a little bit to theory and a little bit in details. So to send and receive any OSC message, you need to have these 4 parameters. So as we already talked, we have IP address. So address is actual address of the device you send it to. So if you program work on the same computer, usually it's localhost or this one. Right, so address you can think the same like about address. So this is where you live. You can think about, if we talk about this, like a package. So port, it can tell, okay, where you live, your house, the port is gonna be your flat. You always need to define the port you want to send and the port you want to listen. And you always need to have the address. The next one, the name. It's your name or name of your neighbors, name to whom this package, Baugo, yeah, sent. And the value, it's actually what inside of this package. You can send empty package sometimes, but usually it's not so useful, and usually you always have some value, maybe 0, maybe 1, maybe just like whatever, right? But you usually always have some value. So for when you see message, you need address, you need port where to listen. Your computer have a lot of port, can have in different programs work on different port. Your name and the value of the package. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about port. I cannot listen the same port on the same machine with 2 different programs. For example, I will open Touch Designer again now. So one more, and I will create another OSC in. Okay, not another screen, you cannot see it. So I will create another OSC in, event 2. And I will define, okay, this is OSC out port 10,000 and this is 12,000. Here I put 12,000. What's gonna happen now? You see, this program receive nothing. If I will cross this program, I receive this data now in Touch Designer. If I will try to open my processing, nothing happened here, because you cannot let 2 programs listen the same port. So, okay, this example maybe not the best, because you can have like few people living at the same flat, but in the OC you actually cannot do it. So this is one of the most often errors for students last years when they start to work with OSC and they tell, oh, they cannot receive signal, they cannot send signal because maybe they have another program listening this port, or they already start this like processing sketch. Maybe they start one like open example, copy code, but they did not close example and they start to work on the same port in their own program. It does not work. This is check always. I can use multiple programs. To send to the port. So I started here. Okay, this is not work because I open this one first. I will disable, I close, open. And now you can see, okay, I can control my processing from this touch designer and I can control from this one. I can send to the same port from different program because it's useful, yeah. So you can set up servers at least in one port, but you can have multiple clients that sending information. So this works. But you cannot use multiple program to listen to the same port. So if you want to have multiple servers, you will need to do multiple OSC out to sending for different ports. Also here, you also can find example here for broadcasting. What is broadcasting mirror? Because as I tell here, usually when we send our message, we send to the same IP address. If you will use broadcasting, it will send to the all addresses in the network. So all computers, machines that connected to the same network will receive this message on the same port. But of course, probably they're not gonna listen to this port, so nothing gonna happen. But if you wanna different machine receive the same message, so you can use broadcasting or multicasting, how we call it, another way. So now I think it should be clear for you what's the address, what's the port, what's the name, what's the value, frame rate. So here we have one things. When you send a lot of data, OSC will receive this data one by one. So it will save value 1, value 1, and again. So it will save something like this. And if you program slow, it will read this value, but while it reads this value, it will receive a lot of other values. So it's the same with serial. So we can do experiment. You remember when we start, we have frame rate 20 here 25 now. I can set up frame rate 1 and let's see how it's gonna work. Okay, you see, it's very slow. So that's why we also have the frame rate here. So if I set up 60, it will be update very fast, pretty much no delay. Yeah, you see, and you see the same message back also with no delay going here. So when you're sending signal to another machine, you can limit the speed also. So one of the way to limit, you for in processing you can set up the frame rate, okay, but it will slow down all you program, right? So we have millisecond in processing, yeah. So this is how many millisecond from where the program was started. So if I don't wanna send each frame this value inside, because now it's sending each frame when the program works, I can create something like this. If millis divided let me check, I do not remember its processing. Yeah, so that's how it's right. So number of millis I can divide by 1000. So in 1 second we have 1000 milliseconds. So if this is number by divide by 1000 equals 0, the left, I will do it check. So now the inside value okay, it's never happened because yeah, it should like actually be 0. So for this one, okay, let's create just like a signet int. It's long, I think. Next check equals 0. So I can write if next check less than millis. I do it, and next check will be millis plus 1000, so plus 1 second. So now anyway every second it will send value back. So you see here now you have a little bit delay. So maybe I wanna send it just like 10 times per second, so 100. It will be fast enough, but again it don't need to send like so much data, yeah, to my program. So when you send data from processing, you can define it this way. In Type Designer here, I can just disable cook every frame, so and send every event, so it will send value just when the value changed. If value doesn't change, it does not send anything. So that's about frame rate. So with serial, the same. With sensors, I usually would prefer to not to send your sensor value every frame. Especially on Arduino, it could be like 100 times every second because your program very small, work very fast. So maybe you need just like receive data from your sensors 5-10 times per second. It's still very fast, but it will not overload the network and it will not overload the queue. Because when queue getting bigger, you will have quite big delay before you receive the actual data, actual information. Okay, let's make one more stuff. We can have another one, int x1 equals 0, int y1 equals 0 also, and this one I will use for the our circle ellipse position. x1 y1, and what I can do, I can create another OSC event. I will not another OSC event, I will just use, for example, the same second program, but I don't need color here. I will just rename the values from x and y to, let's say, x1 y1, and here again I just can copy it, pass here, and write if it's y1 or if it's x1. If it's y1, it's gonna be y1 here, and here gonna be x1. Should be fine. Let's try. So now I have two different programs. The same, should receive, does not receive. So we can open this part, run to see what the value we're receiving. And actually we're receiving nothing from this one. Because I did not use like local address, I think. Okay, works. x1 y1, okay, works. Okay, this one I can comment now again. Run, and now you see, for example, this program controls the position of the ball, but this one controls the position of the small ball. So it's pretty much, you already can create a small game where the one player need to move this object and second player need to move this object inside. So, and you can see how long the small object inside the big object, because if they're sitting and playing in the different position, it's kind of like hard, yeah, for you to know where the second player will move the object after. So this is all for today. So quick review. We have like very fast description of the word communication protocol. So we have serial, MIDI, OSC, UDP. If you want a more like deep information, you can go deeper how they work. I explained it before to the students, but I think it's not so interesting and it could be like too technical. But if you're really interested, you can dig it more. And we talk more today about the OSC protocol and how implement it in processing. So a second program I use Touch Designer, but the same you can use processing, another processing script as the second program to send and receive the signal. All you need to define is just like ports position, right? Let me save this one. Okay, I have server, OSC server. I will close this one. I will also save this patch from Touch Designer. If you would be interested in it after. Now I will just very quickly create another OSC send receive, and actually from this one all I'm gonna do, I save in the, okay, not matter. Or I'm gonna do here frame rate OSC. So I'm gonna listen to the 12,000 now, but I'm gonna send to the 10,000 because this one listened on the 10,000, right? In the draw, I will just draw ellipse and XY, mouse X, mouse Y. I don't need check position. So, and when mouse is pressed, I will send this is to message. I sent one message and I send second message, and here I can just write mouse X, mouse Y, but I think I need to map it because we expect it from 0 to 1, so I expect mouse X, it's gonna be from 0 to width, and I will map to 0 to 1. And for mouse 1 the same, just from 1 to 0, to not make changes in this program. And here gonna be height. So now I should send a message, and I does not have the receive event here. Okay, I save it in OC client, and I start this one. And after I start this one, so but you see this send message just when mouse is pressed. What I can do, if I wanna send always, I just move this one inside. I will just write it send. Send. Okay, now it should send every frame. Something, yeah, mouse Y here. So now you see I have two processing script. that sending and receiving information. So I can write the second client to control this one, and again it could be the game, right? Or whatever. Again, in this program I can receive value back from this one if I want, but we're not doing it now. That's all what I mentioned. First one, you always check the port and the IP address. IP address right, port the send and receive right, not wrong, and just one program can list in one port, but you can send to one port from multiple programs. Name and value, and okay, that's all. See you next time.